Okay, I think everybody is on call now. Okay, so far, any questions do we have on the topics what we covered, like rotorcraft operations, hybrid operations, weather and meteorology? Weather and meteorology is an important topic with respect to your flying of your drones. We have seen how the pressure, wind, temperature, and density would impact because it will vary horizontally and vertically with respect to the atmosphere. But since our drone is currently into the limited sight of flying, like visual line of sight, we are flying. So more important would be the wind and the visibility which come into the picture based on the weather conditions. Okay, so anything above 15 knots. Okay, if wind is blowing, we should always stop our current drone flying sessions. Okay, and as I said, the temperature difference would vary with respect to every 1,000 feet. So at the mean sea level, it will be 15 degree. So as we climb higher and higher, you can every 1,000 feet you can reduce by 2 degrees of temperature, right? Any other anything you have, any question, any point, any discussion, or we can good to go for drone equipment maintenance.
Yeah, good to go.
Okay, okay, thank you. So let's start now since we are actually going to become a drone pilot. So we need to mention like how we are actually, if we don't do the servicing of our car or don't maintain the car properly, some or other day it is going to break down or it is going to give us problem in during our journey time, right? So similarly, if we do not maintain our drone equipments or the components of it, and we don't do the maintenance part, it some other day it is going to break. Okay, or it may be leading to damage, or it may crash, or it may encounter some kind of issue in our flying. So let's see now drone equipment and maintenance. So regular uses may result in wear and tear of UAV, thus requiring regular maintenance checks. Comprehensive maintenance has to be performed after every 200 flights or maybe 50 hours of flying. So depending upon whichever early, like how we have in a car, like whether it is 1 lakh kilometers or 1 year of your driving, based on that you go for a servicing of your car. Similarly, here when you are flying a drone, it could be 200 flights or maybe 50 flight hours. Whichever the earlier, you should able to do the comprehensive maintenance of your drone. Every time you fly, try to fly the drone, intend to fly the drone, you should always do a pre-flight check, as well as you should always do a post-flight check, because before the flying the drone you should make sure that your drone is in good condition of flying, and post flying the drone you should make sure that there is no damage or no issues on the drone itself. Okay, so maintenance checklist and manuals with the standard operating procedures you need to follow. These are basically available from the OEMs. Like every OEM will give you comprehensive maintenance details, like when you are doing a maintenance, what are things you need to check, what are the things you need to verify, and how soon, or how, I mean, some people might say like after 100 flights or maybe after every 25 flight hours you should do the comprehensive maintenance. So then it varies from component to component and drone to drone or manufacturing of the drones. So what we do actually in the drone maintenance. So most important part is first to see the structural inspections. In structural inspection, we normally see the clean airframe of mud and dirt. If there is any dirt, mud on the airframe, you should always clean it. So inspect airframe for cracks, check for loose screws, propeller for damage, propeller for free spinning, check motors for debris and obstructions, check the status of wiring and solder joints, check gimbal and camera lens is clean, check the landing gear condition, inspect the antenna, the position of the antenna and all, check the control station for faulty components. So all the things related to your drone physically, the structural inspection is more of like a physical inspection. Okay, so even aircrafts, the pilots normally before taking off the takeoff, they also have, though there is a separate engineer, a dedicated engineer is there who actually does all inspection related to their aircraft. But still, as a standard operating procedure, it is even the duty of a pilot to check the aircraft before taking off. So you might have seen a lot of time, the pilot who is actually flying the aeroplane, he will take a round, he will take some basics checks. He may not go into that detail, okay, or he may just see the report what is been signed by the engineer who is actually doing the inspection of the aircraft. But pilot will also himself check some structural aspects of the aeroplane. So similarly, as a drone pilot, it's our duty to check some basic things before actually flying drone, be it DJI drone, be it agrobot drone, or any type of drone. It could be a parrot drone, or it could be otter drone, or it could be a drone from Idea Forge, it could be a drone from Asteria, or it could be a drone from Garuda. Any company you purchase, make sure that you do the first structural inspection before flying drone. So in structural, what you do, plus check the frame, whether frame is good, clean, there is no mud, dirt, anything. Check where anywhere there is a bendness in the frame, or the structural deformation has happened, or there is a crack or break in the frame. Check if there are a lot of screws which have been fitting, make sure that all the screws are tight and there is no loose screw, because loose screw will increase the vibrations in the drone. Check if the propellers are damaged or they are in good condition. Check the propeller are free spinning. So physically you need to check by giving a push to the propeller whether the propeller is freely spinning or not. Check whether when you're spinning the propeller, the motor is also spinning. So during that point in time, if there is a debris or any kind of material gone inside the motors, it will create some kind of a friction, or it will create some kind of a noise. So check whether that is there. If some connections are there, physical connection or external connections are there. Normally you will not have any kind of a connections in DJI drones, but in bigger drones or enterprise drones, you will see sometimes wire, battery is connected externally, or motor pump is connected externally, or sometimes gimbal connections are connected externally. So if there are some wiring which are moving, seen on the outside part, you should always see that whether they are proper intact. Check for gimbal camera lens is clean. Check the landing gear, whether landing gear has proper, there would be what we called rubber these things are also, that coverings are there, so which actually supports the landing gear and all this. So make sure that they are in good condition. Check the position of the antennas, so whether they are in proper connected, they are not hanging like that and all that things. And then also check any faulty component with respect to the ground station also. So these physical inspections you should always do before you start your drone flying sessions. Okay. Now, apart from the physical inspection of the drones, there are some components what we need to check, like is a battery. Check for charger. Okay, whatever the charger we are using, whether the charger is proper. See if there is any kind of visual damage. Lot of time, initially charger looks good, but over the period of time, even chargers are not used for a longer time. The charger, the connectors go into the oxidization or something like that. So, and they don't charge the batteries properly. Inspect the battery packs for any kind of a bulge or leakages. So in case you find any kind of a damage, also you should discard that charger, or maybe you get that rectified. In fact, you find the battery packs bulge or leakages, you should always replace or remove those batteries from your operational activities, and you always replace them with a good batteries. And make sure before flying the drone you are charging the battery full 100%. You are charging the battery, don't charge half charge. Or a lot of people we have seen, they sometimes charge half and then they start using the drone. Okay, you should never do that kind of thing. Whenever you are putting a charger battery for charging, you should make sure that you are charging 100%. Okay. In case of your OEM suggest to upgrade the software and firmware of your drones, you should always follow the procedure specified by your OEM. So update the drone firmware software, update your control station software or RC, whatever is required. And whatever you changes you do, please have a process of setting it as a documentation. So keep a track of maintenance reports. So every time you are changing the component, you are replacing something, or you are doing some activity like you are changing the propeller, you are changing the battery or using the new battery and all the things, you should always have some kind of a documentation around it. So you keep a track of it. Okay. So that's what it is. So you should always keep a track of maintenance. When I did replace the battery, when did I put up a new battery into the drone, or when did I applied a new version of the firmware, or whether I have upgraded the drone software on what date. If you should keep a track of this. So you should always have something called as a maintenance report, where every time you do changes to your drone, whether it is physically or whether it is through software side also. Okay, in case you find during the inspections anything like related to airframe, a mud or dirt, so over the time drone will gather layers of dirt from the rigor of flight, transport and storage. Even just your drone is lying in your store for a month, okay, you will find dust getting accumulated on your drone. I mean, I'm not talking about a small drone which we may be keeping inside the cupboard or in the case and nothing, but the bigger drones sometimes people do not keep inside in a covered area, so they are lying outside or they are kept, especially like agriculture drones, because they are flown in the field and where there is a lot of dust and all this. So a lot of people don't clean the drones once they are back into the store. They keep it like that only. So a lot of mud and a lot of things would get accumulated. And after, let's say, 1 month you are starting the drone, you might encounter a lot of problems. So even before starting your operations, you should make sure that you are cleaning all the things already. So when you are trying to do, battery pack has to be disconnected, drone needs to be powered on. Use air duster in combination with microfiber cloth, remove most of the dirt and build, or you can use vacuum cleaner, or even a blower kind of equipment is also available, which will actually remove all the what we call the dirt or the dust from the airframe. You can use anti-static cloth or small cleaning brush, because a lot of places would be there where the your cloth, or maybe even the uh, what we call that air duster may not go into that places. So small brush, or maybe you can use a compressed air canister or air duster, which will have a high pressure air store inside, can be used for cleaning those things. Always use anti-static wristband if you are using or opening a drone for cleaning purposes also. Also, you can use isopropyl alcohol. This is basically used when you are cleaning the motors or any components related to electronics part. Okay, so isopropyl will dissolve the dust accumulated on this particular components, and you will have a clean component available for you. Okay, so carefully inspect the airframe for damage. You should perform these checks on a regular basis. Ensure all parts are serviced accordingly. Even this line is very important. Even the smallest crack can cause critical problem if left unnoticed. So a lot of time in the even in the aviation world, lot of time we have seen the engineers has ignored smallest issues or smallest crack. Like I would say, when the aeroplane is made, aeroplane is not a one single component. It's metal plates, aluminum plates are there. They have been riveted, and then that whole structure has been formed. So there was an incident where there was one or two rivets were missing, and the structural engineer has ignored those missing of the rivets, and that has caused a breakage during the flight, and the plane has crashed. Okay, so after investigation, I think they found that okay, that was the issue, and it was recorded into the maintenance check that rivets were missing, but there was no action taken on those points. Okay, so you can't just notice, or you just don't say take a note and you don't rectify. So that's what it's saying. Even the smallest crack can cause critical problems if left unnoticed. So you should always see that if there is any problems, you feel that it may be at that point in time might look very small, but in a flight you can't take the chances. So if you feel that there is some problem, you should get that rectified on priority. Okay, so during routine maintenance, check each component extremely careful and make a note of a damage you find. So as a responsible pilot, you should always make a note and take a action around it. Okay, it's not just making a note, but you should take a corrective action also, so that whatever that issue or whatever that problem is there, it's get rectified or sorted out. Okay, ensure every component is securely tight in the place. During the maintenance or repair, it is likely that some components will be need to be removed or replaced. I mean, whatever kind of maintenance we are doing, or if we are during the maintenance we find some problem and we are trying to change, so we may have to open the drone, may have to dismantle the drone and all things. So when we are putting it back, we have to make sure that everything is been put back as it is was earlier. Okay, so make sure that all the screws, bolts, whatever it is there, you tight it properly. Don't try to over tighten also. Sometimes over tighten can also cause excessive strains on joints, or even can cause bigger damage than what was not there. Okay, so we need to be careful. Like you can see here, in this picture, this particular screw was tightened and it has caused a crack in the structure of the drone. Okay, so do not over tighten particular bolts or particular joints. Okay, when we are doing structural inspection, propeller is, because that is the one of the component which is moving at a very high speed and which is always subjective to kind of a stress. Okay, so a lot of time you will see it will be a dirty chip or a cracked propellers. Okay, so if you find any kind of these kind of things on your drone, you should always get them replaced. Okay, so propeller damage can go unnoticed until it proves critical. So inspection for the cracks, proper fitting of props to motor. So a lot of time we remove the propeller and we connect the wrong propeller back. Okay, so we don't see the orientation of the propeller properly, or the motor especially. What if a motor is clockwise, then you should have a clockwise propeller. If your motor was counterclockwise, you should have a propeller counterclockwise. A lot of time people sometimes they do mistake, even not only changing the propeller but even changing during the motor also. Sometimes your motor go faulty or have a problem, or sometimes you change the ACs also due to some wear and tear. So a lot of time people misuse, or connect the wrong propeller or wrong motor in place. So you need, when before taking away the motor or propeller, you should make sure that the type of the motor or type of the propeller is documented, and according to the same type you should connect back the same motor, type of motor, or same type of propeller. If it is a clockwise, you should connect clockwise. If it is a counterclockwise, you should connect counterclockwise. Okay, check the status of wiring and solder joint. Check the exposed wiring for any wear outs. Open the chassis, inspect the internal wiring, solder any loose connection. If you find anything loose, you should able to, if you are aware of doing soldering and all the things, you should be doing it. If you are not aware of doing it, so you should get it done from the trained engineer or a trained person. Okay, don't try to do things on your own if you are not trained for that particular activity. Okay. So sometimes, as I said, because of the flying of the drones in a dusty environment, a lot of time the very fine dust or a thin dust goes inside the motor, and over the period of time it get accumulated and it thickens up. Okay, which causes a lot of issues during the motion of the motor. Okay, so in the, either it could be into the armature, or in the uh, what do we call that, magnetic section of, or the magnets, in between the magnets it will accumulate the dust. So you can clean, like if you know how to open the motor, you have been trained for doing that activity, you should do it, or you should ask for a service person to come and do it for you, kind of. Okay, so remove the casing for further cleaning of debris by following the model specific maintenance manual. You can always refer to your maintenance manual in case you are doing it yourself. Okay, so a lot of time, as we said, that the camera lens or the gimbal, because even gimbal is a moving part. Okay, so a lot of there are also servo motors are there, or brushless DC motors are there. There could be a two motors or three motors depending upon type of the gimbal. It could be 2 axis or 3 axis gimbal would be there. So in case you are servicing the gimbal and all the thing, you make sure that you are cleaning them using the right tools and the right procedure. And once you are putting back the gimbal and the camera, make sure that you are configuring and getting it checked before actually flying the actual drone. Okay, so you check the pan and tilt motion and the controls of the camera and all the things, then only you should fly. A lot of time people connect physically, they connect the gimbal and everything, but they forget to connect the power cables. Sometimes sometimes the position of the gimbal is in a lock position also. So a lot of people do not remove that lock also. So when you are in a flight and then you realize that, oh, I have not connected the power to the gimbal, or maybe not for I forgot to disconnect the lock of the gimbal also. So in that scenario, you again have to land the drone and do the necessary. So you're losing your precious flight time over there. Okay. Or even sometimes I've seen there is a cap on the lens. A lot of time people forget to remove the cap and they just fly the drone. So you remove the cap, clean the lens, and then probably do your flying operations. So before actually flying, you should always, when your drone is on the ground, you should always test your motion of your gimbal. So that will make sure that your gimbal is in working position. That point in time also you should test by taking some ground photographs. Okay, you should check the gimbal motions for pan and tilt, as well as you should check your camera for taking the photographs or videos. Okay, sometimes people connect the cameras and they forgot to insert the memory card also in the camera also. So a lot of time these kind of miss things would happen. You miss a lot of things when you are after you connect, you are done the maintenance of the things. You don't put things as it is or as it's required to put it back. Okay. Landing gear, again, landing gear is another component of the drone which goes under the lot of stress during the landing of the drone itself. So make sure that your landing gear is not bent or cracked. If having a rubber or a spring shock absorbers are there, they are proper, they are functioning, and any part damaged or missing, they need to be ordered and fitted as per your manufacturer's. Don't try to use any other material or anything else, thinking that this is just a landing gear or something. I've seen a lot of people, like, you see there are pipes, right? So some people would think that, okay, why don't we replace these pipes with the local pipes and also, without knowing that those pipes which were made earlier were made of a carbon fiber. So a lot of people think that, okay, it is just a normal aluminum pipe. So some people try to replace those landing gear components with the local components or local materials. Okay, so you should never do that. You should always use your OEM or a manufacturer specifications components only, because if it is under warranty or AMC, it will be a void for you. Okay, structural inspection. Again, we talked about the antenna. Make sure that antenna is proper. So a lot of time, when we are keeping in a storage format, we fold the antenna and all the things. So before flying, make sure that your antenna is properly connected. Or sometimes we detach the antenna also. So if we have detaching the antenna and all the things, we should connect back properly before the flying conditions. Even for the ground control station, make sure that remote controller chassis, remote controller antenna, extended range transmitter, the receivers, if as applicable, they are being put properly, and ground control station is kept on a proper sturdy stand or a base kind of equipment. Okay, so that you have to make sure that your ground control station is kept at a proper sturdy, stable table or stand. Okay, as we talked about the drones and all things, the battery is the powerhouse. So check the docking station charger for each battery pack. The components can often go for years without being properly serviced. I mean, these are not such a component which will easily go for wear and tear immediately, but they will give problems over the prolonged period of life. Like maybe after 3 years or 5 years of operations or services. Okay, but you have to keep, every time you are doing charging, discharging, all that kind of activity, you should make sure that you are checking your charger is proper and giving the right amount of services. So ideally, when we are charging the battery, you should always maintain something called as a battery logbook. Okay, so ideally you should keep a track which battery is being charged when, and how much time does it take to charge one single battery. So initially, when, let's say, you have purchased any drone, and maybe normally with one single drone you would get one battery, but if you want to do multiple flights and you have to utilize your time slot or your visit at the location, you may have multiple batteries, maybe 3 set or 5 set, or even I've seen people keeping 10 set of batteries. So in that scenario, you should always label the battery, like battery 1, battery 2, battery 3, like that. So, okay, B1, B2, B3, 4, B10, something. Whatever terminology, whatever nomenclature you want to use, you can use. But whenever you are using, let's say when you put insert battery 1, when the battery 1 is discharged completely, put battery 2. Okay, so that time you should keep on track, like, okay, my battery 1 is discharged, now I'm putting a charging, so I'm putting it for charging. I should charge, I should make a note when I start the charging and when the charging gets over, I mean finish the charging, so I should make a note of it in some form of a logbook. Okay, then second battery would come, then third battery. So after I finish my all 10 battery consumption, then only my the first battery should go into the activity or operations. Okay, you should not randomly put battery, so that will not be tracked. So you should have a proper cycle of utilization of your batteries. Okay, so in case you find any problem with the battery or battery pack or the charger, you should always discard those components or these things, or maybe get them checked or get them rectified. A lot of time there are issues with the charger which could further cost you the battery issues also. Okay, so in case you find your charger is not charging the batteries properly, so you may discard that charger and use a fresh new charger in your day-to-day activities. Okay, so battery inspection, again we talked about that if there is a battery which is bulged or having a leakage, we should always replace them with a good set of batteries. Okay, so whenever we are connecting a battery to the drone, we should make sure that we are testing the voltage of a battery. So this we'll see it practically when we are actually doing the battery charging activity. So on the day 3, we'll basically end of the day we'll be keeping our batteries, or we'll be charging the batteries in the evening. Okay, so we'll be making sure that all our batteries which are we are going to use on day 4 and day 5, we are kept them, we have been charged them. So next day on fourth day of your drone activity, drone course, you will be actually flying the drones. Okay, so you should make sure that your all the set of batteries are being charged properly. Okay, in case you find the cell voltage less than zero point 0.2 volts, so you should either check why it is happening, and then probably the battery may not have been charged properly, you may have to recharge the battery properly again. Okay, until unless you get the difference between different cells less than zero point 0.2 volts. Okay, if it is more than 2 volts, try to recharge that battery properly or charge that battery properly. Okay, and then check again. Or sometimes also we see this kind of error when the voltage meter is not connected properly also. So we have to, a lot of time there is a false alarm given on the voltage meter also, because we may not have connected the voltage meter properly to the battery during the measurement of the battery voltages. Okay, again we talked about the software and the whether it could be a software for the drone or could be for the ground control station. So based on your OEM instruction and the procedures, you should follow and do the drone software or firmware upgradation activity. So it could be either done on a Wi-Fi channel, or you can do it by connecting the cable to your laptop. Either of the way, whichever way the OEM suggests and you feel comfortable, you should follow and start be doing that kind of activity. In our type certified drones, DGA type certified drone, DGA has made it very clearly that we should not upgrade, because the firmware or the software is been certified for that particular drone. So that version or that particular software is been certified. Until unless there is an issue in that particular software, we cannot change, and that also we need to take the approval from DGCA and the OEM. Then only we can upgrade. So if there is any issue or anything, the OEM itself will come to you with the required upgrade or things with the approvals from DGC. So far, there is no OEM is been authorized to change the uh, drone firmware or the software firmware on the components. Okay. Again, we talked about the software firmware on the control station software. So if you are using any third party software or any other software, or even OEM software is there, like Idea Force Drone has their own control station software called Bluefire. Similarly, there are other organizations also who are actually developing and made their own softwares for using on day-to-day basis. Okay. So what is the schedule for servicing for airframe, propeller, motor, gimbal, landing gear, and camera? So this is schedule you should define on your own, or you should take help from the OEM's manuals. Okay, so you should always inspect what is the definition they have given, how soon or how fast you should be able to do the servicing of your drones. Okay, when we are servicing the airframe, make sure that we are removing the battery, we are removing the propellers, and then we do all the servicing of the drone frames. Okay, a lot of times, sometimes drone frame get damaged or we have to replace or something like that. So in that case, we may have to shift entire components from one frame to another frame, or sometimes small component of a particular frame might would have got damaged. Okay, maybe a landing gear or some part of the frame would have got damaged, so we are not actually changing the entire frame, but we are changing only part component of it. So in that case, if we have opened up the drone, we should make sure that we reassemble it properly, and then we actually connect back all the connectors, wires, everything whatever is there as it is earlier. We should try to make the drone back same. Okay, so be sure to refer a manual for proper wiring guides and advice on how to route cables inside the shelf. Lot of time, while disconnecting, it might looks very easy, but connecting back, it looks very difficult and challenging. So in that scenario, you should be very careful what you are trying to do. Propellers. Okay, so again, propellers, we have talked about that if there is any damage to the propeller, we should always replace the propeller. So I will show you some damaged propellers during our practical sessions, which will give an idea. Like we have replaced, like my earlier old drone. Okay, all the 6 propellers were chipped off. Okay, it was lying in my flying location for more than a year. Okay, so it was just lying and kept in the near the box. So my all the propellers over the period of time, they have become fragile. Okay, they were started chipping off or breaking off. So I wisely I thought that okay, we need to replace these batteries, sorry, these propellers, so that we don't encounter any kind of damage during the flight. Again, same goes for the motors. So whenever you see propellers or motors got faulty, you should connect back the right type of motor or right type of propellers. Okay, I spoke about the gimbal also. A lot of time gimbals goes faulty or get some challenge, or sometimes even one particular motor of a gimbal also needs to be replaced. So if you are aware of doing these things, you should proceed for doing it, or you should get it done from a authorized servician or the technician person, so that you don't land up into further more issues of your drone operations. Same goes for the landing gear. In case you find there is any break or damage to the landing gear, you should always get it replaced. Okay, we spoke about the camera. So in case you are changing cameras or using multiple types of camera, like a lot of time I would be using, either I would be connecting GoPro, or sometimes I will be using my DSLR. Okay, sometimes I may be using a specialized camera only for specific activity and all those things. So in that scenario, I should make sure that put back either whatever the new camera I want to put it, or the existing camera only after servicing and all the things, and connect back the connectors accordingly. Okay, so far any questions? So that is all about the maintenance of your drone. Okay, so you should always make sure that you do a comprehensive maintenance of your drone after every 200 flights or 50 flight hours. This is general statement, very generic statement. It's put here. You should always refer to your OEM manual. Like for example, for our drones, agri-broad drones, it is advised to do comprehensive maintenance every 100 flights. So last session when we had our flying sessions, we have logged a call with the OEM, and we have requested an engineer to come the site and check the drones for all the physical components. Okay, so all that maintenance, whatever is required, with respect to the physicality of the drone was checked, and he took the test flights of the drones also, and then only he certified that these are a good drones to fly for what we call the day-to-day training operations. Okay. So with that, we complete our drone maintenance part. The most important is one is the comprehensive maintenance, what you do regularly uh, based on your OEM's definition, or you can also decide whether I want to follow 100 flights or maybe 50 hours of flight time or something, whatever it is, you decide among yourself, okay, based on your operations. And you should always follow the post and pre checklist and the during the flight also. So every time you are flying, before flying the drone, you do a pre checklist activity. During the flight, you do the during the flight or pre checklist flight post this thing, and then after you land successfully the drone, again you should run your post checklist also. Okay, so like check the propellers, check the motors, check the battery connections, check the any other unknown thing you could have encountered or seen on the drone. So you always see these things on the drone physically. Clear? So with this, we complete our drone maintenance topic. Any questions you have so far? Hello, I'm audible?
Yes,
No
can hear
questions.
you. No
No.
questions.
Okay, okay. Okay. So let's move ahead to the new topic called risk assessment and analysis. So this is basically with respect to the emergencies, or this is basically called as emergency handling of situations. So when we are flying a drone, what kind of risk would we encounter? Can you people suggest or think what kind of risk we could encounter?